Hey, how are you today? I hope you're having a fantastic Friday. I'm super pumped to be on here and chatting about how to move beyond big challenges in relationships. We all have them. Relationships can go up, down, inside, out, back to front, and can be really challenging. And when I talk about relationships, this could definitely be, hey, good morning. How are you, Dylan? I think it's Roz. I can't quite see who's jumping on, so say hi if you're on here. Yes, it is. Hey, Roz. Great to see you, Dylan. Hey, Sandra. Great to have you on as well. And so one of the biggest things that can come up in relationships, and like I was just saying before, relationships can be all sorts of relationships. We can be talking parent-child relationships, child-parent relationships, particularly if you're an adult with obviously adult parents, but as an adult child as well. It could be sibling relationships, it could be intimate relationships, it could be work relationships. Hey Susie, hey Alistair, great to have you guys on. It can be all sorts of different relationships that can really bring up super big challenges. And what I believe truly is the number one challenge in relationships is being able to communicate effectively. And it is a big challenge because everybody generally that's in that situation or where there's a challenge that's come up. Good morning, Alistair. Hey, Amy, great to have you on too, sweet. Where relationships really, I guess, can be challenging is when there is those big obstacles that come up, because there's a lot of emotion with that. Now, not too much emotion, there's nothing wrong with too much emotion, but when it's not as expressed effectively, then can definitely create even larger challenges in communication. So communication, being able to communicate effectively, is one of the biggest challenges that I think that we all have as humans, unless we've done a lot of work in that area, unless we've become very conscious and we've done a lot of work on clearing up stuff in ourselves. Because the gift within relationships, the beautiful gift within relationships, is always showing us what needs to be healed or what needs to be worked on. Not necessarily what needs to, but what we can heal or what is there to be healed within ourselves. Because the external world is nothing more, I truly believe, than a reflection of what's going on internally. So if you've got rude people showing up in your life, it may be that you have a belief that the world is full of rude people, or it might be that you've made that part of yourself being really wrong, so you've judged yourself for that. Now, there's a difference between judging a part of ourselves and choosing not to be that part. So the judgment is when we've made it so wrong in ourselves that we're triggered by that behavior in others, and this is what brings a lot of relationships undone as well. Hey Suzanne, great to have you on, hun. So being able to communicate effectively is number one, like, know yourself, know what is right and wrong for you. And when I say right and wrong, not from a moral point of view, not from a righteous indignation kind of point of view, like it has to be this way or nothing else, but know what feels right for you, know what supports you, know what's true for you. When you're really honest with yourself, if you stripped back everything, if you took everybody out of the equation and you could have it exactly the way that you wanted, and again, you know, just getting clear on what that actually is. And most people then have self-judgment around that. Well, that would be selfish, or that would be this, or that would be that. But until you're clear and honest with yourself as to what you actually truly need, what would be truly supportive to you. I had a lot of trouble with this quite a while ago. Hey Chris, great to have you on. Simply because I was judging me. I felt like I needed to be this or I needed to be that in relationships with other people, and I wasn't actually honoring the fact that I actually needed space and time for me. I'm very much an introvert, so I fill up, my energy is filled up by spending time by myself. So if I'm constantly with people, I get very fatigued very quickly, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, but I'd made that wrong. I'd made it bad that I needed that time by myself, or chose that time, or wanted that time by myself. So you can see very quickly how we have all these rules, because a lot of this comes from how we were raised from 0 to 7. and all the subconscious thoughts and all the subconscious patterns that were coming in. Hey Nicole, great to have you on, hun. All these subconscious thoughts and patterns and everything else that's really, I guess, comes into play when we're from the ages 0 to 7. So remember that we've got that ego survival mind. We're all trying to fit in. We're all trying to belong. And our greatest fear is rejection. Our greatest fear is not being enough because we won't be loved. So it really is like a huge fear, and we're hardwired that way as humans. So it's kind of like, I guess, being part of human. It's like that human suffering, having that ego survival mind. And I call it suffering simply because the ego mind has so many ideas and constructs about how we need to be, how life needs to be, how other people should be, and it creates all these rules, and the rules are trying to keep it safe, but all it does is kind of like just kind of mess things up. So generally there's actually not a problem. It's the ego mind that goes, well, this shouldn't be this way or that shouldn't be that way, and so then it has judgment around that, has judgment around the situation, has judgment around the person that we're involved in. Hey Jerry, great to have you on. Hey Kate, good morning honey. It's so great to see you on here. So generally we have like all of that ego judgment that comes up, and then we start miscommunicating, and we can't effectively communicate when we're coming from a place of judging the other person as well, because then we start to become defensive. We're very much in our ego mind, and we're not truly listening to what's actually really going on for them at that deep heart level as well, which is, that's where people feel truly heard. It's like when we come back to our soul and we don't make it about ourselves and just get curious and go, wow, I wonder why they're feeling that way. But a lot of the time, the attraction to, I guess, another person is that there's that within each that needs to be healed, and it's both separate stuff, but it plays out as if it's the one thing. And this is what, that's my pleasure, Alistair. Hey, Cecilia. And this is where, like, it's kind of like there's a common theme that brings both people together, and both people are kind of like the magnetic attraction on the opposite sides. So this is why relationships can be so healing when effective communication can happen, but so detrimental because all it does when there's not effective communication and understanding is because it continues to reinforce that deeper hurt or that deeper wound within ourselves each separately. So this is where the real pain kind of comes up for people as well. Hey Christy, great to have you on, hun. So our main responsibility, like how to communicate effectively, is really about like figuring out what's yours and taking full ownership for it. And so like recently, like I kind of just pulled back like a really painful thought that I think I was kind of like vaguely aware of. As humans, Tony Robbins talks about like we all feel like we're not enough, and because we're not enough we won't be loved. But I had a belief, and you may really resonate with this, that it's all my fault. And so of course, like anytime somebody would say something, I would be defensive because I had felt for so long it's all my fault, or I'd blamed myself. So therefore if somebody else was blaming me, then that was even more hurtful, or even if they weren't blaming me but they were just trying to explain how they felt, and I was taking that on board, believing that like they were blaming me. Because remember that all of our beliefs, hey Anne, great to have you on, honey, all of our beliefs, they're like putting on glasses, they're like putting on lenses, and the way that we perceive the world, the way that we perceive and experience then is because of these lenses that we're wearing, which can distort things, which can delete some things that people say, which can create greater intonations or tonality in somebody's voice when it wasn't there, but it feels like extra exaggerated. And if you're sensitive to energy at all, this will be like blown out of even more proportion. And I say that with love, being somebody that's like extremely sensitive to other people's energy as well. Hey Kylie, hey Jean, great to have you all on. So it really can be quite challenging because we've got all this stuff kind of going on. You're feeling what you're feeling, you're probably feeling what the other person's feeling, And it's this discernment, this being able to really decipher, well, what's yours and potentially what's theirs. Only they can claim what's theirs. Only they can own that. It really doesn't help for us to go, well, what about this or what about that? It's only when somebody feels truly understood from a deep, heartfelt level, where they don't feel judged or they don't feel like they're being criticized or blamed, where potentially they could explore that with you. That's perfect, Amy. I love the synchronicity, honey, and it's a good message for myself as well. And of course, I say that with love. Hey, Simone, great to have you on, hun. So definitely, like, take that time if you are having a particular challenge, or even go back to a time in the past, because what I found, unless there's been an experience that's actually been fully healed in the past, and you may kind of giggle or you may feel frustrated about this. Hey, Lisa, great to have you on, gorgeous. You may feel frustrated about this simply because you may have a similar experience that keeps on happening, and it's like, why? You know, it might be a different person, but like the situation just feels, tastes, smells exactly the same. And it may not taste or smell that way, but it definitely feels the same. It's like, oh my God, I'm on Groundhog Day, or why does this keep happening? And if you feel that way, or you feel that way with a number of people in your life, I can promise you it'll be something that's going on internally with you. And it's not that everybody else is wrong or everybody else needs to change their behavior. It really is about healing that within, which keeps attracting that experience, which is quite painful for you. I quite often talk about when I first started as a kinesiologist, and I felt weird and I felt wrong and I felt just strange, and I thought other people would judge me. So guess what I attracted? Of course I judged people that judged me. I judged people that were skeptical of me. I judged people. I probably did, actually, because I was judging myself. So I was in defense mode, and when we're in defense mode, guess what we do? We go straight to ego. Hey, Em, great to have you on, gorgeous. We go straight to ego, and ego, you'll know that you're in your ego, particularly in communicating. If you feel defensive, if you're blaming, if you're criticizing, if you are triggered, because that's going to be like that old pain, that old wound that you haven't yet healed yet, that's come up to be resurfaced and represented to you as an opportunity to now actually deal with this in a different way. And I recently had an experience where there was like a very old wound, like really, really old wound, and it was a pattern that I'd played out a long time ago, over and over, and I hadn't moved through that effectively. And so there's no judgment around that. It's just like it wasn't in a resourceful way, and so I was represented with a similar opportunity, completely different situation, but it felt the same to me. And so I got the opportunity to go, hang on a second, how do I now choose to actually move through this, given I've shifted so much internal belief? And it was all about me actually honoring my feelings instead of making my feelings wrong. When we make our feelings wrong, we're going to attract miscommunication. We're going to attract other people that potentially make our feelings wrong, or just the miscommunication, which feels like our feelings are wrong, or we're bad, or we're wrong for feeling that particular way. And I think this is kind of something that can be deeply ingrained as well. Hey, Denise, I don't know about you guys, but like I definitely got in trouble if I was or had love withdrawn from me, or got a look, or got sent to my room if I was like misbehaving. Now, as far as I know, people are not bad. People do not feel intense emotions for no reason. So this is where I think we kind of get confused as kids, because we'll be feeling something, and it may be we want something that we can't have, so we feel frustration about that. But it's also understanding that that feeling is normal and it's natural to have, and it's okay. It's of course not okay to, you know, be hurting other people. All of that comes from intense emotion, and generally comes from not feeling heard over a long period of time. So again, hey Gina, it's great to have you on. So I also just want to kind of go back to, you know, it's not okay to hurt people, because again, that is a judgment, as opposed to when we are feeling fully loving, we just naturally don't hurt people. So that's probably more the point that I'm actually wanting to make, as opposed to make it black, white, right, wrong, good, bad. all of that is ego mind trying to figure it out, trying to get certainty of what the rules are so it can be safe, so it can be accepted, so it's not going to be rejected, so it doesn't lose love. And so all of this is subconscious programming. Now the problem or the challenge that we have with our subconscious mind is it reacts 5 seconds faster than we can consciously think. Now that's a real challenge, particularly when we feel reactive to a situation or a circumstance, because generally we're like already in the reaction phase before we've able to kind of reel it back or pull it back a bit and then choose to respond in a way that feels really congruent with who we are. And I think this is another key thing. Sorry, I feel like I'm really kind of going fairly deep with this today, but obviously it's coming up for a reason, and hopefully it'll really resonate with you guys. And give me some love if this is really resonating for you, or ask a question as well if you've got a particular challenge that you're working through at the moment, and more than happy to kind of potentially shed some light on that as well if you're feeling particularly challenged. So a lot of the time, what bugs us the most when we're reactive in a situation is we actually come out of being who we normally are. And so suddenly we become angry, or suddenly we become judgmental, or suddenly we become like feeling maybe clingy or needy or insecure or weak, or all of those perceptions that we place on ourselves. So then we become defensive around that, and we get angry at the other person or angry at the situation because we feel like, and this is not normally a conscious thought, but it's something like I've peeled back and worked through a lot. My frustration is I'm actually not being the real me. And whatever we judge, we become. So if we're, hey Linda, great to have you on. So if we're judging somebody for their behavior, which of course is ego and mind, all of that kind of coming up, is like, then we're judging them for judging. So it's like we become whatever it is that we're judging, and the second we get into judgment, we lose the power to influence somebody. And it's because they feel judged. Like I know when I feel judged, or I feel like somebody doesn't actually really get me, it feels like I'm being judged, I'm being made right or wrong for how I feel, or for how I'm responding, or for whatever's going on internally for me, then I shut down. I don't want to communicate with that person. It doesn't feel safe. And I know you guys would have probably definitely felt that way in the past, and probably have judged other people as well, just the same as me. And I'm not judging you for doing that, by the way. I'm guilty as charged. And because it's something that we all do, it's a defense mechanism of the ego. Remember, the ego survival mind just wants to keep us safe. It just wants to keep us protected. And so if we feel threatened, and threatened of course is a strong word, but like we all have that little inner girl or that little inner boy and that inner child that feels worried or feels scared or feels like, oh my God, what's actually happening? I feel out of control. I feel chaotic. And control is another big thing. When we feel that somebody is making us wrong or bad, like we tend to push against that with resistance, and then we're actually we either feel controlled by a situation, or we're trying to control the situation. They're two sides of the same coin, because you cannot feel controlled and want somebody and not want somebody to be different, because you're feeling controlled because it's like, oh my God, they're doing this to me. So we become the victim or the judge. Hey Jane, great to have you on. And that also totally disrupts really good effective communication. So if we're going to peel this back, take it in like 3 steps. Number 1, know yourself, know what's right and what's okay for you. And when I say what's right, it's not from that black-white sense. We can definitely compromise. And a lot of the time when people are having arguments, they're arguing about the same thing, just using different language and feeling completely frustrated and misunderstood. So know yourself, know what your triggers are, know what your deep wounds are, know what you keep cycling, what have been your patterns of the past. Be self-aware. When you're self-aware, then you can go, oh, hang on, yeah, I'm feeling really hurt, and this has actually got nothing to do with what's actually just happened, but it's reminded me subconsciously. So the subconscious mind will go back to, when was a situation in the past that felt like this? How did I handle it? Oh, I shut down, or I didn't speak up, or I went and hid, or I got angry, whatever, however you reacted. And that's then the auto programming that will play out unless you consciously choose a new choice in that moment. So the second phase of this is, so number 1, know yourself. The second part is ask yourself a quality question in that moment. If you feel like you're getting taken out of your own center by the situation, or you're becoming really volatile in that, or you feel a lot of internal stuff. Hey Beverly, great to have you on here. And I was particularly triggered by stuff in the past. I had a lot of PTSD stuff where I would literally get so jammed in my throat I couldn't communicate. I'd go to say the words and nothing would come out, or I'd feel fight, flight response, or I'd just totally freeze and totally feel paralyzed. I'd shut down. I'd want to run. Like internally, it would just be like this feeling of wanting to run, wanting to escape the situation, wanting to disappear. And this is like still even really recently. So, and I've done a lot of work on myself over the years, but I'm just saying that this is a natural, normal behavior simply because the ego mind's freaking out. And when we know ourselves so well, we can go, my inner child's feeling really scared at the moment. What do I need to do in order for her to feel safe? And maybe it's just even acknowledging how scared she feels, and it's like, it's okay, or just reassuring yourself within yourself and learning how to do that if you haven't done that already. So self-regulation is really, really important, and it does come from having a secure attachment as a child. So if we haven't had that, we need to teach ourselves how to feel secure within ourselves, simply because it can be one of those things that really derail people, and we get into clingy, needy, insecure behavior as well. So like I said, first one, know yourself. So know your wounds, know your patterns of the past, how have you normally acted. And then second, ask yourself a quality question in that moment to bring you back to your real self, to bring you back to your heart center, to bring you back to what's most important. And that might be actually articulating or just saying, you know, who do I choose to be, or what's most important right now, or how would love respond. They're probably my three most favorite, particularly how would love respond, because that brings me back to my heart center immediately. It's like, okay, I'm feeling really triggered by this. Love would actually leave until it's kind of cleared itself up a bit, or love would just say to the other person, look, I'm really sorry you're hurting, or I'm really hurting. So just like asking yourself quality questions in that moment as well. Hey Ben, great to have you on. Hey Dallas, lovely to have you on as well. So number one, know yourself. Number two, ask yourself a quality question. And number three, just get curious. Get curious with the other person. And when I say curious, you know, it can kind of feel like a bit of a funny word to use, particularly if you're feeling really challenged in communicating. But it really is just seeking to understand. Get curious. Why is somebody so defensive? Why are they so upset? Why do they feel so angry? And it's with that curious, it takes you out of judgment. Remember, the second that somebody feels judged, they will shut down. They won't feel safe. Yeah, absolutely agree, Roz. It's tricky though, isn't it? Like not reacting. And I find breathing for 5 seconds actually helps me to switch from my autonomic nervous system, from my sympathetic nervous system, which is that fight, flight response, back to my parasympathetic nervous system. It also gives my conscious mind to think clearly. And to ask myself that new question, because a lot of the time, like I said, that subconscious reacts 5 seconds faster than what we can consciously think. Absolutely, though, it is so satisfying, because then suddenly you're having really conscious conversations with people, as opposed to be in this reactive phase where you're just like, oh my God, that was not what I wanted. That was not the outcome that I was looking for. I really just wanted to, and most people really just want to deeply connect with the other person, and that's what's frustrating, is both parties generally feel like that, but all this mess, the enmeshment of each other's stuff and each other's feelings, and what each other's like projecting onto the other about our own rules, and we're trying to control each other, like all this stuff can be so confusing in how to actually communicate and how to kind of work our way through it. Now, I still feel at times I'm a very clumsy communicator, but am I getting better from where I was? Absolutely. Times where I used to shut down, or I'd make my own feelings wrong, or I just couldn't get the words out. Now I can get the words out, and maybe sometimes it's less effectively than what I would like, and I communicate that as well, and I continue working on it. So, you know, we're all human. We're all so human. We've all got that ego mindset, which is just wanting to protect us, wanting to keep us safe. Hey, Kerry, great to have you on. So, like I said, know yourself, get clear. What are your past wounds? What are your past patterns? Ask yourself a better quality question. Breathe for 5 seconds so that you give yourself conscious space to actually ask yourself that question. And, you know, at first when you do this, you might be already in reaction. Then you're like, oh God, I forgot to ask the question. That's fine. It's actually still working. Don't beat yourself up about that. Just what worked well, what could be even better next time. Oh, it was great that I remembered that I could have asked myself a better quality question, and next time I'll try and do that before I'm in reaction phase. And then lastly, get curious. Somebody is reacting that way not because they're bad, not because they want to hurt you, not because they've you know, just out to make your day really horrible. They've got their own internal stuff. They're trying to get their own needs met, and they don't know how to do it in a resourceful way. That's all that's actually happening. And yes, we are complicated. And thank you so much, Roz. That's such a beautiful compliment, honey. And I truly appreciate that on a Friday morning. And you know, we've all got our stuff, guys. We've all got wounds. We've all got hurts. And it's when we truly seek to understand what's actually going on with another person, as Brene Brown talks, you know, vulnerability and actually giving the gift of being vulnerable with somebody else and saying, yeah, that was really upsetting for me, or yeah, I had this past thing happen, or this was really just, it really challenged me on lots of levels, and I'd like to explore with you how I might be able to communicate more effectively, or I'd like to explore with you, you know, how did that make you feel? How were you impacted by that? And can you feel the softness in that, where it's not like, well, I was really upset. Like, obviously, you know, we try not to do that, but sometimes our energy, even though we may not be saying the words, our energy is expressing that, and our energy is defensive. So just really great things, I guess, to keep in mind as well. Hey, Catherine, great to have you on. And, you know, like more effective communication, like Brene Brown talks about, sorry, my thing's just gone really dark. Like Brene Brown talks about, that vulnerability, it's like really opening up at that deeper level. And when we can love ourselves enough, and we can trust ourselves deeply enough to respect and honor our own feelings and our own emotions, and to be able to communicate, you will feel deeply connected with the other person when it's done in an effective manner. And it will build more trust in your relationship. It will build more resilience and I guess tenacity in your relationship. When I say tenacity, it's really like being able to bring up the harder topics, being able to bring up those deeper hurts and those deeper wounds, and know that your relationship has the strength within it to be able to work through those things, even if it feels clumsy, even if it feels uncomfortable at times. It is where you will get your greatest growth. And the more that you do that, the more healing that our relationships truly become on multiple levels, where you'll just no longer be triggered by that in other people. And it's all about sorry, I do apologize, I've got hay fever at the moment as well. But it's all about what we can truly heal within ourselves. And the more that we work on ourselves, and when I say work, you know, it's really about the more that we discover about our own past wounds, and we give ourselves the love and the appreciation, we hear our own feelings, we don't make those things wrong in ourselves, and we come from that place of choice, you'll find yourself so much less reactive in relationships anyway. You won't take things as personally, and you'll be able to just really communicate at a much more effective level as well. So have an amazing day. Thank you all so much for tuning in. It's just been such a gift and pleasure to have you all on here, and I'm so grateful for you all, and I truly hope that this has served in some way. If you are feeling super challenged in relationships, it is one of the areas that I love to help people work with, simply because it's that clearing up of our own energy, it's clearing up of our own judgments and our own triggers and our own past hurts and wounds, and it'll only have you feeling better and better within yourself, not to mention attracting more abundance, living a happier life, like all of those things. So if you're keen to find out more, I am running my Authentic Happiness Intensive in February as well. It's an amazing, phenomenal program where I've just had incredible feedback around where people have really understood themselves at that deeper level, or perhaps, you know, wanting to work one-to-one is also perhaps an option for you as well, where we do like a lot of of the deeper transformational work. We work on a lot of those past wounds and those past patterns, get that all cleared up, and you'll just attract greater and greater experiences into your life, and greater people as well. And I don't mean that in a judgmental way at all, but the more that we clear up within ourselves, then again we're like attracts like, so we're attracting more amazingness as opposed to more wounds that need to be worked on, and that's always a great space to be in. So lots of love to you all. Have an amazing day. Catch you later. Bye.